I always love reading stories that are really well known to us and looking at them from a slightly different perspective. Like the story of David and Goliath. I always think about that because it is the story of this puny little guy who is summoned to fight a giant, a effing giant. And we've all been there. If you play sports, if you're an entrepreneur, at some point you are David. Maybe every day you're David. So Goliath is huge, strong. According to the Bible, he might be like 9 feet, 9 inches tall. He's a really tall guy, strong, muscular, should beat David in hand-to-hand combat. How is David going to beat him? Well, David can use a sling, as we all know. He picks up a rock, 5 rocks, puts one in his sling, whirls it up, and throws it with tremendous force. It hits Goliath right between the eyes. Goliath falls. David beheads Goliath, holds the head up, and now the war is won. The war's over. So that's what they used to do in the old days. If there was going to be a massive battle and lots of life lost on both sides, they would do a battle where you just picked one person from each camp to represent your side. No one on David's side wanted to fight Goliath the Philistine. No one wanted to fight him. Who would? It's like fighting Shaquille O'Neal plus 2 feet, okay? You don't want to go down there. But what did David know? How did he know he could beat Goliath? Why did he volunteer himself? That's the question I was asking. What made him confident that he would even stand a chance? Well, you could say God was on his side. I think that's true, right? The Spirit is on his side. Spirit's on everybody's side when when you're going into battle and you're a good person. You should have the Spirit on your side. Let's say that, okay? So, but let's put that aside. There are 2 things I want to talk about that made David sure he could battle Goliath, and maybe he even knew he would win. What's number 1? Well, he had been in fights before. He had practiced. He had trained. He fought against lions and bears and had defeated them. So he had put himself against really good competition. Of course, he wasn't seeking these fights, but it came to him. Either way, he had already fought rough and tumble battles, fought beasts, been against really great competition, you might say. So he had tested himself before. He knew he could fight. And the second thing is, let's think about this. How many times do you think David, a shepherd out in the field, was picking up rocks and just practicing with his sling? Over and over and over and over again. He was getting reps. Now, if you follow this channel, if you follow any of my channels, what do I say? Reps to reign supreme. And that actually applies almost exactly to David. He used a lot of reps. He killed Goliath because he was so precise with it and could perform under immense pressure. That's what happens. Your training kicks in. David had trained himself in the field, rock after rock after rock after rock, throwing it. I mean, how many times do you think David had thrown those rocks, had slung those rocks? That doesn't sound right. You guys know what I mean. Had used his sling to throw rocks in the field thousands and thousands and thousands of times. I mean, you get bored being in a field all day, so that's probably what he was doing. He had his sling, and he was working on his aim, velocity, technique, and he got really, really good with it. And after he killed Goliath, he literally went on to reign supreme, became a king. So when I look at these stories, how does an underdog, how does someone who doesn't have all the genetic gifts, all the strength, maybe all the connections — David had no connections — how do they win? Well, they go against good competition. In business and sports and music, get among the best. Fight your lions, fight your tigers, fight your bears. And also work on your skill. Improve your skill every single day. Repetition. David was in the field, you know he was, with the sling and just, working on his aim, working on his velocity, technique. And when the time came, he had the skill to defeat Goliath and become, set his legend in motion. And last thing I'll say is, when you're brave, you step forward. When other people back away, David stepped forward. When you put yourself against good competition, you're not scared to fail. You go out and you face the good competition. And when you're working constantly on a skill, you're putting your heart and soul into what it is you do. I do believe the Spirit helps all of us. I do believe there are unseen forces that come to our aid at the exact moment we need that aid. Okay guys, please like, subscribe, hit the notification bell. Talk to you later.